Koast Radio.
Somebody will probably be able to tell me just how politics is changing. He's a guy who, yesterday morning, I don't think he would have ever believed in a million years that he'd come second for Blythe and Ashington. But we'll find out. Mark Peart, did you believe it?
With the campaigning that I'd done in Blythe and Ashington, yes, I'd seen that people had changed their voting habits. 2019 for the Conservatives was a Boris vote at the time, but they'd been betrayed, you know, and national politics has basically killed the Tories off, you know.
Mark, I know you must be tired because you, like me, were up all night. Mind you, I had an excuse, I was at work on the night shift, but Blythe Sports Centre, tell me a little bit about the atmosphere down there, because I don't know if you knew it, but you were on the telly last night more than you probably realised, because for some reason, probably because they thought Blythe was going to declare first, it was all over the BBC forever. What was it like in there?
I'm surprised at that. I haven't seen anything yet, to tell you the truth. I've done quite a few interviews with the BBC, ITV and so forth, you know. But the atmosphere, it was a good atmosphere, to tell you the truth. You could tell when the postal ballot come in on the first one and they were counting what way it was going to go. You know, you sort of knew, but it was for Reform, getting what they got, it was really, really positive, you know. And to push Conservatives into third place.
Well, we'll talk about that in a minute. Was it as chaotic as it looked on the telly? There was cars. I don't know. It looked like something out of Monte Carlo, where there was cars pulling up every sort of like few seconds.
Yeah, they were going for it because outside, obviously from the polling stations, they were coming, and then they picked their boxes up, and then up and away they go. You've got to clear all the aisles, and then they run through to like the 5-a-side courts where the count actually was, you know, start dishing them out and trying to get it. They didn't get first. I think Sunderland pipped them to the post, you know, but it was a good atmosphere, and there's nothing more exciting than being at election on election night. It's a good experience for anybody, you know.
Well, let's talk about the vote itself, all right? Ian Lavery, 20,030 votes, Labour. Maureen Levy, Conservative, 6,121. And then yourself, Mark, I was staggered, absolutely staggered. 10,857 votes. Reform UK, 26.9%. Wow.
Very, very big figures, aren't they, you know? It goes to show that from 2019, I think we're about 8% or something. So we basically went up 19%, you know? So we've just got to keep at it and keep on going. It was interesting, and somebody pointed it out to us last night with Blythe Valley ceasing to exist and changing to Blythe and Ashington and Cramlington going in with Killingworth. What would have the vote been like if it was just Blythe Valley? And I haven't really looked into it yet, but you're looking at 10,000 in each Reform got, you know. I don't know what come from Killingworth or whatever, but I think it would be interesting because Blythe Valley lost 75% of its constituency, sort of thing, you know.
I've got a listener question here for you, alright? It's Bex on the Decks. Says, well done, by the way, and just wants to know what happens next. Where do you go with this now, Mark?
Right, so what's happening now is we've got our presence, we've got a campaign team, so we'll be starting local branches up, working the constitution, so we'll have the chairman, treasurer, bank accounts, and our main focus is recruit for the locals next May. Because I think it's proved in the polling that Reform is going to be the main option. So we need to stand in all seats in the whole of Northumberland. and try and bring about change at a local level as well.
Brian from Bedlington says, you've called yourself UKIP. You've called it, this is your party, by the way, and now you reform. How many more name changes are there going to be before you finally get it right?
Well, Brian's completely wrong, because UKIP's still in existence, isn't it? So we'll move on from that one.
I've got to ask the questions, but you're
that's
correct.
Right. Yeah. UKIP had nothing to do with us. We were formerly the Brexit Party. Brexit Party issue was, we'll say it was sorted, but it's not in my point of view, and then we changed to Reform. Still the same people. Nothing to do with UKIP.
Nigel Farage, what's he actually like? What's he really like?
He's a nice bloke. What you see on the telly is what he's like in real life. So there you go.
Do you think it was all down to Farage taking the reins?
I think he gave a massive boost with his presence, what he's got on social media. He also, with him doing his TV programmes and being on I'm a Celebrity, he sort of reinvented himself. Nothing but positive with Nigel coming back, and he's committed to the next 5 years. So he'll be up and down the country, gathering support and helping to push areas like Blythe and Ashington.
Susan Madison in Ashington wants to know, yesterday, did you think you would get as many votes as you did? Was there a general feeling amongst your party that it was going to go the way it did?
I knew we would do well, because I'd been out and I'd knocked on thousands of doors and we're getting a huge response. I just wasn't sure how many people was actually going to turn out to vote. It was basically a 50% election. 50% of people didn't turn up to vote, you know. So we've got to try and engage these people, see why they're disenfranchised and see why they don't want to vote.
Mark, why is that happening? 53% was the turnout for Blythe and Ashington.
Yeah.
53, so that leaves with 47%. Just didn't bother.
Yeah.
I mean, come on, the way the country's been for the past, let's just say 4 or 5 years, and that's a push, surely you would go out and vote, would you?
Well, that's what I would think, you know what I mean? You vote your voice. That's how you get change, you know? If you can swing 10% of that going on, you know, and they're voting for your party, then that's going to be a massive positive, you know? But it's when it's my issue is when things go wrong, everybody has an opinion, whether you're chatting to your workmates, social media or stuff like that. If you don't use your vote, you know, it's pointless participating in debate, you know. Mark, you've got to get out. No matter which party you vote for, you've got to use your vote. Simple as that, you know. I
can be a little bit of a worky ticket on Facebook. So the people who know me know what I'm doing, but other people don't. And I said I wasn't going to vote. I said, don't bother, they're all the same, da-di-da-di-da, just to get reaction more than anything. I was always going to vote, but I'll be honest with you, Mark, I wasn't sure where I was going to put the X. And then it's not because I've known you for years, it's the fact that I couldn't have the Tories in. No way. Labour, I'm not enthralled at all by Keir Starmer. I mean, I look at what he's done today with, if you can call it the reshuffle or whatever else, he's put his government together, and I'm thinking to myself, my God, years of problems are about to descend on the UK. But eventually I did put the cross in the box, and yes, I told you yesterday, I put the cross in the box for you. Not because you're Mark Peart, not because of you, because of Reform UK. And I am sick to death, and I would like you to bury this now. Sick to death of people telling me, because I voted Reform UK, that I'm a racist. For goodness sake, tell me how I'm a bloody racist by voting for Reform. No, I'm not. But that's what people think.
It's in every political party, you're always going to get a few wrong ones. And Reform was under massive scrutiny this time. And when you're under massive scrutiny, you know that you're heading places. People will say the wrong thing, You know what I mean? But that's a fact of life.
How do you get the message out then, Mark? Because just going back to that message, listener question earlier on about UKIP, people don't understand. You're not UKIP.
Yeah. Exactly, you know.
Well, how do you get that message out, Mark?
Yeah, I completely get it, you know. It's in Blythe, you know. We've got to put the message out that we're a normal party. But it's essentially, that's anything that ever comes. Oh, yeah, UKIP, you're racist and all of this, you know. It's not true. But they'll do anything they can but to smear you. And, you know, it's good at politics at the end of the day.
Of course it is.
What they're gonna say, the 10,000 people who's voted for you are racists.
Well, yeah, you know? That's the general impression. I mean, just today on Facebook, I mentioned that you were coming on air tonight, and within, I'd say, half an hour, people were saying, oh, he's a racist. And what do you mean he's a racist?
They've got no proof, but they'll just say that.
Yeah.
You know, and that's how the media's painted it. You know what I mean? And when they start painting you like that, you know that you're a serious threat to the establishment, you know?
Well, I mean, it's not that long ago that Nigel Farage said that Reform was the number 2 party. Do you think with what's happened last night, people are now going to look at it and think, you know what? Yeah, they are. Because the Conservatives now are gone. They're dead and buried.
Yeah.
You know, they're all hiding under rocks all over the place, and it'll be a while before they come back again.
Yeah. One thing that's always happened with the Conservatives, they're going to reinvent themselves. But this time they haven't got anybody in the background who would, in my opinion, be a successful leader. So they're gone. They're gone for years. They're not going to make any bounces, you know. So Nigel is right. Reform is the number 2 option at the moment. And hopefully it'll be the number 1. Moving into the locals, you know, people's had enough. You know, they want change, and you're never going to get that with Tories or Labour. So you've got to go with something else.
Why do we live in that society, Mark? You just hit the nail on the head. We've had enough. We want change, yeah. But the mere fact that you say I've had enough, they then throw it back in your face. Enough of what? Enough of boats? Enough of dinghies? No, just had enough of the whole political system. And
yes,
I'll bring this up because, by my estimation, the amount of votes that Reform UK got yesterday was in the millions, right? And then
4 million.
Then you look at the Liberal Democrats and other parties. Why isn't proportional representation a thing? Because this first past the post obviously doesn't work. How the hell has Reform UK only got 5 seats? 5 seats with 4 million votes.
It's been argued about for ages. I think Labour had it in their manifesto that a few years ago that they were going to push the proportional representation as well. We shall see what happens, seeing as they've got a huge majority now. They may just throw it to the side and just continue on. This is the issue. If you elect somebody, you expect them to carry out their mandate. And this is what happened with the Tories. They didn't. You know, so you've got to give them the benefit of the doubt. You know, they're in government. But you've also got the right to chastise them when they don't do what they say. And this is the big issue, you know. He's already told you that your taxes is going to go up. There's going to be no tax cuts. So people have voted for to pay high taxes. Now, I didn't particularly want to pay high taxes. I would rather spend my own money. I don't need the government to spend my money. I can quite happily spaff that up the wall myself, you know.
Keir Starmer has played a very, very clever game, if you think about it. He's not promised a lot, has he? So he'll not be accused of undelivering.
Yeah, I don't think he has. I think the Tories, if you wanted to write a book on how to lose an election, they've got a bestseller there, like that could pay for all election costs coming up in the future. You know, they had 380 seats and they went down to 150 odd in 4 years. You know, how could things go so wrong? And it's the classic case of they never listen to the people who elected them. You've got to listen to the people.
Well, Mark,
and if you didn't, you're toast.
I've asked you the questions that some of the listeners have asked. But what I want to know about you is you the man. Which football team do you support?
Blythe Spartans.
Apart from Blythe Spartans?
Newcastle.
Good man. Good answer. And you the man.
But I'm more inclined to Blythe Spartans, even though I was very disappointed that we got relegated last season.
Can Nobby Solano do it for you?
Yeah, well, she'll see. I don't even know if we've got a team yet. I'm waiting on the list to come out. We just sold one of our best players to Gateshead today, so Will McGowan's gone, so that's a bit of a sad affair, like, because he was a young lad, 21-year-old, really good footballer, you know.
Well, Mark, I'm not going to keep you too much longer because I'll get accused if I don't bring a Tory or Ian Lavery, for example, and I don't spend exactly the same amount of time with them.
Yeah, that's fine.
I'll just get told off. Oh, Will. Well, Ian's always been a good supporter of Koast Radio. Even Ronnie Campbell, to a certain degree, was. But Ian Levy,
nice guy.
Ian Levy just didn't want to know. Always said he was too busy. So I'm going to thank you for coming on here tonight. I'm going to let you get some sleep because I know you need it. And just make sure you keep in touch, Mark, because...
I will do, Jerry. It's always a pleasure speaking to you, as you know.
Okay, well, Mark Peart, 10,857 people said yes to you.
Yeah, it's absolutely fantastic, that. Like, it's something to build on for the future.
Anything you want to say to the electorate voted for?
Yes, just thanks for voting for us, and thanks for trying to make the change. It's a long game. What's another 5 years knocking on doors there?
Well, yeah, it's a hard life, isn't it? Okay, Mark, get yourself to bed. Thank you so much for coming on air, and I'll speak to you soon.
Jolly good. You take care.
Cheers, Mark. Bye-bye.
Ta-ra.
Koast Radio. Koast Radio.